Okay. I'm gonna do one piston and rod for you guys, and then you'll have the idea. I know my face is cut out of the picture right now. Basically, working surface, you want something that's gonna have some give to it, because you'll see why. I'm gonna take a brass punch and kind of set the pin. So looking at the instructions that came with these pistons, these have wire locks. So I'm just telling you again, if you have aftermarket pistons, go with what they tell you. So this is a wire lock, like a circlip, this style. This is what keeps your main pin, but keeps it seated. So what I'm doing, oh yeah, let me touch on something. So I have a picture that I drew with the crank, and you can see the journals, the rod journals are numbered. You know, and it basically correlates to what part of the crank, what journal correlates to what cylinder, right? So I'm matching the rod, which all the rods are the same. I did number them, and I'm keeping them one is with one, but technically that don't matter. What's more important is the pistons you've matched to that bore based on all the measurements you've taken, which we're already past all that. So this is number one piston. Rings are already on there. Number one rod. Rods have two sides to them. This side is beveled. The bevel is right here. It's like tapered, but there's a bevel to it. And this side is flat. Flat side always goes next to the adjoining connecting rod that rides that one journal. So that one journal on the crank houses two rods. The flat part of this rod will go to the flat part of the next rod. The tapered side goes towards the outsides of the journal, to not allow this to get in a bind. So make sure, you know, as you're putting this piston on this rod, not only do you need to be paying attention to the arrow or whatever marking on your piston. These are symmetrical pistons. They're not asymmetrical. So even though the exhaust and intake valves are a little different in size, the recessed for valves on this piston, these are identical sizes. And then even on the skirts of the piston, this portion is basically, it's the same size. So this is a symmetrical piston. So as long as I'm making sure this arrow is facing forward, then it's right. So as I'm connecting, when I go to slide this pin in, make sure that this rod is orientated correctly for whenever it's going to be installed on the crank. So what I've been doing is I reference my little sheet. I kind of mock the piston up, pretending I'm about to put it in the bore, and then as I will slide this pin through and then put that second circlip in, I know that this rod's going to be orientated correctly. So just make sure you're double checking all that stuff before you put this pin in and then lock it in, basically. Because if you're wrong, you're going to have to fight to get this back out to unfuck yourself. So what I'm doing is doing one side, and the instructions say to have this 90 degrees from this little recessed area right here. So make sure you're at least 90 degrees. So I'm basically putting this clip where the opening is facing straight up. And this is a kind of a pain in the ass. So I basically take the clip and start it with my fingers. And you gotta basically push down and in, and it's really close, and I'm taking this little screwdriver. I put some masking tape around there. Heard it kind of click. You can see it's in the groove. and the opening is away from this notch is what you're wanting to make sure. And obviously try not to maul up the piston, and definitely try not to scratch this bore where the pin goes. So that's one side, and it's always easiest to do that first one. By the way, when you get the pin in, doing the second one, it is not fun. So that's in. What I'm gonna do now, I lubricate everything with my grease. So I do both bores for the pin. I go to the rod and I lubricate where the pin goes in the rod. And then lastly, I lubricate the pin itself. All right. So I'm gonna get my sheet. This is number one, which number one rod is the most forward-facing journal, and it's on the passenger side. So I take this piston. I know it's facing forward towards me. I'm pretending I'm the front of the crank, the front of the engine. Basically flip it over, because right now the engine's upside down, right? So I'm going to take my pin, start to slide it in. Probably help if I do it on the side, I don't have a clip on it. So slide it in right to where, before it breaks that plane, it in the middle. Take your rod. So I know the tapered edge of this rod, which is, this is the tapered edge, needs to be facing forward to me, then that'd be the outside of the thing. So it's facing forward to me. I'm the front of the engine. Slide this down in here. Gently slide that pin all the way, because it's going to catch on that clip, right? And the instructions say take a brass punch. I don't know how important this is, but again, the instructions say it, so I do it. Take a big brass punch, and it just says to tap that pin, basically just making sure that that clip's fully seated. Give it one little tap, so we know it's good on this side, right? So all it's left to do is take your second circlip, and it's the same process, except I'm finding it easier, instead of this smaller flathead, I'm taking a larger one, because I can get it started, but you don't have as much room to push down since the pin's in. So I get it about halfway down, and then I take this and I'm basically kind of prying against the side of the piston, and then I'm holding pressure with my thumb. I can lightly push it down, and it went in. See, that second one's in. So then I'm going to flip this. The instructions say to tap both directions. So that second circlip's in. So take my brass punch, square it up, one little tap. Everything looks good. Piston should freely rock. And then your rod should freely bounce, you know, left and right, have some play left and right. And so this is now done. I don't have a piston stand. Sometimes if you have those nice cool stands, you just like set all your rods and pistons like this into there, because this is now ready for assembly, right? Our rings are already on there. So I'm just rebagging these for now, but that's how you attach the piston to the rod. This obviously isn't covering every style of clip. This is my first time doing it, so I can't help you if it's a different style clip. There'll be other videos, I'm sure, on YouTube of if you have a different style clip, but if it's a circlip, this is how you do it. Cranks final installed, the thrust done. All my piston rings are on the pistons, clocked right. All the pistons are mounted on the rods. I'm keeping oil squirters. So I'm doing a test fit because I had to do button Allen headed bolts. And I'm just doing a test fit. I got 2 rods in, and I was just double checking the clearance on the squirters, and everything looks good. Really close, but motor turns nice and free, no problem. Yeah, look. That's one finger, guys. That's how smooth it is. One finger.